How difficult is it to roll the legendary type of Recon armor you want? I have been looking into the matter to understand the exact numbers and roll rates. Let me show you everything. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. In this one, I'm going to put my detective hat on to find out some precious information, which I believe most of you have been wondering about too, at least once. So, what are the drop or roll rates for a legendary Recon Armor set or even a single piece? I've seen lots of rumors and speculation around this topic on social media, but no concrete formula or rates so far, so I decided to go ahead and do it myself. That's right, I talked to about a dozen of people, I went over equations, formulas and logic sequences just to bring this video to you guys. So I hope you enjoy, and as usual, I hope you learned something new as well. Without any further delays, let's get started with the real deal. In this overview, I'm going to explore your realistic chances to get a full legendary Recon Armor set, as well as one specific Recon Armor piece. But in order to get there, I had to talk to a lot of people and explore different mathematic models. It was an interesting and brain-draining journey, as you can imagine, and it lasted quite some days. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, before we go any further, do let me tell you that 0.001% that I sometimes used in my videos or posts as the supposed drop rate for Recon was not based on any formula. It was just a symbolic number I came up with to express the rarity of this new gear. It is really difficult to loot or roll Recon armor as legendary. There is no doubt there, but how rare is it exactly? What number or percentage are we talking about? Well, nobody seemed to know when I first started asking around last week, but now, after long discussions and lots of calculations, I can safely answer that question. Alright, before I move on to the problem, I want to inform you that you obviously need to learn the Recon Armor Plans first, and the only way to get them is through daily ops rewards. These gear plans are untradeable, so there is no way to trade or buy them from someone else unless you cheat. But I really don't want to go there. Now, these Brotherhood of Steel plans are really difficult to roll, as you probably noticed by now. That's because their drop rate is 128%, which is exactly the same percentage for every single rare plan you can get from daily ops in Elder mode. Basically, every rare plan has the same exact drop rate, and there are currently 25 plans in this category, which means you have exactly 128 chances to get any of these plans. If you hit the 80% chance to get rewards in Elder mode, of course. But don't worry, Bethesda is changing that to 100% with update 25, which means soon enough this minor rule will be gone. Anyhow, the more gear plans you learn here, the less you need, and since the system has a rule to prevent rolling rare duplicated gear plans, it means your chances to roll the missing gear plans are increased over time, as you manage to roll more and more of the plans you need. The only exceptions here are the Whistle in the Dark and the Gutter plans. These will drop no matter if you have learned them or not. So with that 128% chance in mind already, we know it's very difficult to collect all the Recon Armor plans. For example, I only collected the chest and the arm so far, after almost 2 months of doing daily ops every single day in Elder mode. But sadly, this is only the start of incredibly low drop rates. Let's continue. Okay, so if I asked you how would you calculate the drop chance for a legendary Recon Armor piece, how would you do it? At first, you might think it sounds simple, but as you start getting into the problem, you soon understand it's far from being simple. It's actually pretty complex. I started by researching all the armor plans in-game until date. which are 12 armor sets. In theory, it's only 11, but Scout Armor counts twice as two separate sets because we have the Urban Scout and the Forest version as well. So it's 12 sets in the end with 5 armor pieces each. Now, if you multiply that, we get a total of 60 armor plans in game. What about legendary values? There are 18 legendary armor prefixes or primary legendary effects. So if you multiply that again, 60 armor pieces by the 18 effects, we have a total of 1080 possible combinations. Let's not get into the major and minor modifier list because that's irrelevant for our initial problem here, and it would just overcomplicate everything. In case you are not aware, the system first rolls the type of armor and then the prefix, and these are the ones we are going after. They are the essential parts of the equation, let's put it that way. Anyhow, the first step is now done. Okay, now let's consider the Previer Armor Mystery picks, which always give you a 100% chance to roll a random legendary armor piece. Let's also assume you have learned all the 60 armor plans existing in game right now. In that case scenario, what are the chances to roll any recon type of armor in the first place? Well, that's not very difficult to figure out. All you have to do is basically divide 5 by 60, which gives you an 8.3% chance. If you want to get one specific recon armor piece, let's say an arm, or a leg, or any other armor piece really, then we must divide 1 by 60, which is exactly a rough 1.6% chance. Now, I know what you are thinking, well, that's so low already, and we are not even going over the legendary combinations. Yep, that's correct, but in the name of science, we must keep going. Things are about to get real now, so your chances to roll Recon Armor are not very high, but the good news is, it's the same exact chance to roll any other type of armor in-game. The system is fair in that regard at least. So now let's say you wish to get a Recon Armor set with a specific prefix, the most popular being Unwielding. So let's use that effect as an example. What are the odds for you to roll an Unwielding Recon Armor piece? Remember the 1080 possible combinations I explored in point 3? Well, that's the main value we need here. I don't want to kill your neurons with formulas and models, but in the end you need to divide the armor piece number you need by the amount of total cases or combinations the system can roll. So the answers would be 1 divided by 1080 multiplied by 100% to obtain a percentage, which leads to 0.0925%. Let's stick with 0.09% for now. If you want to calculate your chance to roll an Unwielding Recon Armor set, then it would be 5 divided by 1080 once again, which is 0.462%. The numbers are not making your chances to get the legendary Recon Armor set you want very promising, I know. But these are the real and accurate drop rates. How do I know for certain though? Well, I confirmed this formula with one of the lead data miners, Gilpo, who usually calculates the drop rates for all sorts of 76 drops, and he confirmed this is indeed correct. To be honest, I'm glad he did, because I had a few other logic sequences way more complex. I was very confused at the time too, and Gilpo was a key element in helping me understand which formula was the correct one to use here, so a huge thanks to him. So far, so good. I tried my best to make this video easy to understand without going too deep into math, calculus and statistic rules. I'm basically putting dozens of hours of discussion and research into a few minutes here, but the journey was everything but short. Several other formulas and logic sequences were on the table before I figured out which one was, well, the correct and most logical choice here. I want to thank everyone who tried to help me out with this problem. Some of you were a bit far, others were fairly close, and some were right on point, but ended up using slightly different formulas to reach the same end. Before I knew which formula was correct, I immediately concluded one thing: whatever logic was the one, all the results were leading to an incredibly low drop rate. We are talking about 0.00% or even 0.00%. We ended up with a 0.09% per piece, so all the formulas presented to me were not very far off from the real drop rate. Overall, I'm really impressed with the amount of support I received by asking a simple question over my Discord. So for all of that, I want to leave a huge thanks to the math gurus who attempted to solve the legendary Recon Armor drop rate problem with me. Oh, and a special thanks to Garrus. He invested quite some time into this and he was right from the very start. Anyway, without you guys, I probably wouldn't have been able to create this video. That's the truth. Alright, so with that 0.09% chance to roll a specific legendary Recon Armor piece per Preview armor roll, do let me tell you that per 100 armor rolls you do at a Preview, you have a 9% chance to roll at least one Recon Armor piece with the legendary effect you want. You surely can imagine how low the drop rates can get for mystery picks in general, which also include all the weapon plans in the game and extends the roll list to hundreds of possible items and thousands of possible combinations. The mystery pick system is what many events use to roll your random legendary item as part of the event rewards. Moreover, legendary drops from enemy bodies also include all sorts of existing gear in-game, so if you think 0.09% is low, imagine how much lower the chance gets with general mystery picks. I would risk to say it's really 0.0000% or even worse, but I don't want to speculate much in here. It's a given fact, the drop rates are ridiculous low, and it's almost impossible to loot or roll a legendary recon set with the prefix you want, at least through legit pets. Actually, now that I know all of this, I feel incredibly lucky to have received my 3 stars wielding Recon Arm from an event. It's like winning the lottery, and it really shouldn't be this way. Sometimes it feels like the game is punishing players instead of rewarding them for playing the game. But that's exactly the effect that RNG loot systems have on most players. That's also why I keep defending the Wastelanders model. It is literally close to impossible to roll a full legendary Recon Armor set with the prefix you want, for example, wielding. At least a legit way, as I just stated. It could take months or years until you can roll all the pieces you need, and Bethesda knows this. I mean, they created the system. They know all the drop rates and how RNG works. That's why we, as a community, need to keep requesting a change. They also created the Wastelanders model, remember? It exists in game and it was a huge success. So what's keeping them from making the switch? Probably the lack of feedback. To be honest with you, I hardly see anyone talking about this. There are a lot of complaints about how low the drop rates are for the gear plans in daily ops. That is true. And as a result, Bethesda is adding some major changes with update 25 to increase your plan drop rates with daily ops. So I do believe if we keep asking to return to the Wastelanders crafting model, if we keep pressure on them, they will eventually listen. Maybe they won't change Recon at all, but perhaps the next new gear additions will allow legendary crafting once again, and that would be a victory in my view. Anyway, why do I defend legendary crafting, you may ask? Simply because the chances to get what you want are much higher. The system pretty much limits your rolls to the 18 legendary prefixes for armors. Plus, the armor type is already selected for you, it's defined, just like it works for the secret service. So in this case, to calculate your roll chance, it would be 1, the item you need divided by 18 total prefixes, multiplied by 100 to get a percentage, and we get 5.5% to roll any of the 18 primary armor effects. For example, every time you craft a secret service armor, you have a 5.5% roll on wielding piece. Much better than the 0.09% roll chance from the Preview armor chest for a legendary recon piece, right? I have a few friends who feel really demotivated to play lately, mostly because they can't even get the Recon Armor Plans, let alone roll or loot the legendary versions they want for their builds. Maybe you feel the same way, but you really shouldn't. The Recon Brotherhood of Steel Armor might have a great visual. I mean, it looks much better than the Secret Service set in my opinion, but that's about it, guys, because in terms of defense and stats, the two armor sets are quite identical. I have already made an overview comparing both Recon and Secret Service sets, feel free to check it out if you haven't yet, by the way. Anyhow, the Recon armor set has a slight superior physical defense, while the Secret Service provides a slightly higher energy and radiation defense. It's a trade-off in the end. As such, your care levels should be close to none. It's totally fine not to get a Recon armor set. If you end up looting or rolling it at some point, great, amazing, you beat the odds. But if you don't, who cares? The Secret Service provides excellent defense already. To be honest here, you should aim for a legendary Secret Service set if you don't have a complete one yet, because it's something you can realistically fight for and get sooner or later. It's not like you are relying on a 0.09% roll rates at least. It's definitely not worth stressing about an armor with roll rates equivalent of winning the lottery. Plus, the Recon armor doesn't even provide any extra value while compared to the Secret Service, so why bother? Please everyone, spare yourselves, Recon is simply not worth the trouble, period. Well, I think I've talked long enough about this topic. I know this was a bit heavy in terms of, well, formulas and calculations, percentages, but there was no other way around it. Plus, trust me, I simplified it as much as I could. I had to filter a lot of information. Some of the initial formulas were stretching to A and B equations, for example, which led to the same end result, but they were overcomplicating things. Anyway, I hope you could learn something new with this one, and once again, thanks to everyone who tried to aid me in this short quest. We did it, we unveiled the roll rates, they are incredibly low as expected, but at least now we have a concrete number, an exact percentage, and that was my goal all along. Well, it's time to wrap things up. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed this overview, and as usual, if you would like to support me even further, the links are right below the video. Now a huge thanks to all my supporters as well, and that's it. I will see you all very soon in the next video. Until then, take care, adeus, bye bye!